Can you tell us your name?
My name is Giannis Antetokounmpo.
What kind of basketball player are you?
I'm an all-around player. I can jump, I can shoot, I can pass the ball. I can do everything in the court.
What are you trying to work on as a basketball player?
I'm trying to work on the basic of the basketball, and a little bit of my shot.
Anybody in the NBA that you like to watch and maybe emulate?
I like Magic Johnson and Kevin Durant.
What kind of player will you be in 5 years from now?
I'll be much stronger. I'll be much better in everything that I do in the court.
It's almost unbelievable to think that a kid from Athens, Greece, who was selling jewelry at a flea market with his parents while sharing a pair of sneakers with his brother just to play basketball would even be in the conversation of being one of the most dominant and greatest players the league has ever seen. Giannis Antetokounmpo had anything but an ordinary and easy path to the NBA. Yet with all odds stacked against him, he managed to overcome it all, cementing himself as one of the best players in the league today, as well as the second greatest power forward of all time. And he's only 27 years old. Whether you love him or hate him, you have to admire the sheer dominance he's putting on display night in and night out. We've never seen a player quite like him. A 7-footer with a 40-inch vertical and a 7-foot 3-inch wingspan just sounds crazy to say. He can clear the distance of the entire court in as little as 2 dribbles while showing flashes of speed and strength that are not found anywhere else for a guy of his size. I think Giannis warranted a video from me a long time ago, and now it just feels like the right time to make it happen. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I post high quality NBA related content every week, so if that sounds like something that you'd be interested in, please consider subscribing. And if you do find yourself enjoying this video, a like would be great as well because it helps spread my small channel to grow and reach new people. Leave a comment letting me know if you agree with my take, and if you don't think Giannis is the second greatest power forward of all time, let me know why in the comments. Now let's have a look at the Greek Freak. Just to clear things up and make sure we're all on the same page, my top 5 power forwards in order would probably be Tim Duncan, obviously, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Dirk Nowitzki, Kevin Garnett, and Karl Malone to round it off. Dirk and KG are pretty interchangeable, but other than that, I think it's a super fair list. This video will be a super structured one as I've broken it up into a few sections, like comparing Giannis's accolades to others, his skill set, and a few other things as well. I do recommend watching the entire thing, however, so that you get a true grasp of how special Giannis is. Although Giannis has only played 9 seasons including the 2021-2022 season, his resume remains very competitive with other all-time greats at his position. Giannis is tied with the second most championships at 1, only behind Tim Duncan's incredible 5. Giannis is also tied for second for finals MVPs at 1, once again only behind Tim Duncan who has 3. Giannis is tied for the most MVPs at 2 with Tim Duncan and Karl Malone. And now this is where Giannis loses his footing a little compared to other greats, but let me give my reasoning why this is the case. Giannis has made only 6 All-Star teams as of the making of this video and 5 All-NBA teams along with 4 All-NBA defensive teams. He also has a Defensive Player of the Year award, which only Kevin Garnett can say he also has from this group. You can argue that Giannis definitely has a better resume than Dirk, KG, and Karl Malone already, as the only categories they're really beating Giannis in are All-Star appearances and All-NBA team selections, which comes with time. But other than those 2 categories, Giannis already has a better resume than those 3 players. And now, my reasoning. Like I said before, this is only Giannis' 9th season in the NBA. If we adjusted this chart to show off the awards received by the greats in their first 9 seasons like Giannis, let's just say that there's a drastic difference. Giannis and Tim Duncan are now the only 2 players with championships and finals MVPs. Giannis is tied with Tim Duncan at 2 MVPs as well. And having a look at the All-Star and All-NBA appearances, we can see Giannis is much more in line with the other greats. Giannis is also tied for second place in All-NBA defensive team selections, and he's the only player out of the 5 greatest power forwards of all time to win a Defensive Player of the Year within the first 9 seasons of their career. Now I know what you're thinking, The title of this video says Giannis is already the second greatest power forward ever, not that he will be when it's all said and done. And all I have to say to that is accolades only tell one part of the player's story. Now let's have a look at the skill set provided by each of the big men. First, starting off with our guy Giannis, he's developed into one of the most physically dominant players ever, but that shouldn't discredit other parts of his game like his speed and athleticism. There is no one of Giannis' size that can run a fast break like him. His defense is otherworldly. He has the ability to recover on plays that no one else would even think of trying. I think the perfect play that sums up Giannis' defensive abilities would be Game 5 of the 2021 NBA Finals, where Giannis found himself guarding DeAndre Ayton on a pick and roll with Devin Booker. PJ Tucker got caught on the screen, and this forced Giannis to have to pick up Booker, leaving Ayton all alone rolling to the hoop. Giannis somehow picks up Booker just enough to make him hesitate on pulling up and forcing him to throw a lob up to Ayton at the hoop. Giannis, who is closer to Booker than Ayton, somehow turns around and recovers, blocking Ayton's dunk, which was right at the hoop. In terms of offense, Giannis is still developing a jump shot, but his confidence and ability to knock down threes has gone up every year. Giannis can dribble and pass the ball around to his teammates if need be. He has the highest career assists per game for anyone mentioned in the top 5 list, which I believe proves how great of a playmaker he really is. I think people nowadays underrate Giannis' offensive abilities because the dude has seriously won back-to-back MVPs while only attempting 1.9 threes a game the first time and 2.8 threes the second time. One stat that is absurd about Giannis' dominance is that he's only the 3rd player in NBA history to win an MVP and Defensive Player of the Year in the same season. The other 2 guys? Michael Jordan and Hakeem Olajuwon. Fans hyper-focus too much on the fact that Giannis isn't a great 3-point shooter, but I can definitely see fans having a hard time finding a flaw in Giannis' game in a few years when he starts knocking down multiple threes a game on good efficiency. For the other players, I can go very in-depth, but I don't want this video to be unnecessarily long, so I'll sum it up the best that I can. Tim Duncan is the greatest defender to never win a Defensive Player of the Year, and from the beginning all the way to the end, he was an all-NBA level defensive player. On offense, he was very consistent. Not flashy at all, but he was able to score in big numbers if needed, using the post almost always. He didn't have range, but where he lacked in that, he made up in other areas of offense. He wasn't the primary ball handler or one that could really bring up the ball and set up the offense, but the offense was mostly run through him. Dirk Nowitzki is probably the weakest defender out of the greatest power forwards we've been talking about. His career averages for blocks isn't even 1, and he's a 7-footer. The same can't be said about his offense, however, as he was able to shoot from pretty much anywhere, making him the greatest shooting big man in my opinion. His signature one-legged fadeaway was super nasty, and he's the only big man from our list to shoot over 40% from 3 in 5 total seasons. Kevin Garnett was capable of leading a team strictly from his defense. He's probably the most intense defender out of the guys we've been talking about, and on offense he wasn't that bad, but he definitely wasn't on the same level as someone like Giannis or Tim Duncan. Don't get me wrong, the big ticket still had stretches of amazing offensive performances as he won the MVP, averaging a career high 24.2 points per game. Amazing at defense, great at offense. Karl Malone was great at offense, being the primary scorer for over a decade in Utah. Malone's playmaking was also pretty underrated, but he wasn't the one bringing up the ball and setting up the offense, as that duty was set up for John Stockton. His defense wasn't on the same level as someone like KG or Giannis though. He did make 4 all-defensive teams, but other than that, there isn't too much to write home about. If you want a consistent offensive player with good defense, you can call Karl Malone. If you want stellar defense and fairly good offense, you can call Kevin Garnett. If you want a big that can stretch the floor, Dirk Nowitzki is your guy. If you want an underrated defender who is consistent on offense, Tim Duncan is your man. But if you want someone that can do just about anything on offense and defense, Giannis Antetokounmpo is the answer. The last thing I want to look at for this video is the primes of the top 5 power forwards of all time, starting off with Tim Duncan. Obviously he's the best out of all the guys here, and his prime really represents his dominance well. He made an all-star team and an all-NBA team in his rookie season, and also did the same in the second last season he played, while he was 38 years old. His prime was just that long. And maybe it wasn't very dominant across all the years, but he wasn't someone you wanted to mess with. Dirk Nowitzki had a prime starting around the 04 season and lasted all the way to the 2012-2013 season. He won an MVP in that time span, also beating out the Miami Heat Big Three, solidifying him as one of the greatest power forwards ever. Kevin Garnett really got things going after 3 seasons, which saw him averaging 20 points per game a season until getting traded to the Boston Celtics, forcing him to take a lesser role behind Paul Pierce. While KG was on the Timberwolves, he was the main driving force on the team, and he was great, don't get me wrong. But he was never able to lead Minnesota to a deep playoff run like Dirk or Giannis were able to. And maybe that's because the teammates he had were just bad, or maybe because he just wasn't good enough. I'll leave that for you to decide. He was always a force, just not to the same degree as others. Karl Malone has the case for being the most consistent guy on this list. He averaged over 20 points per game in the second year in the NBA, all the way to the second last year, which is a total of 17 seasons. He did have John Stockton to feed him, but Karl Malone was a bucket nonetheless. They were able to make the finals multiple times, but unfortunately they came up against the GOAT. Giannis, now in year 6 of his prime, doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. He's somehow found a way to improve an aspect of his game every year. At first it was his mid-range, then it was his ball handling and playmaking, then it became his leadership, and now he's developing a 3-ball. It's crazy to think that he's only 27 years old. If he can keep up what he's doing for another decade, he will likely have the most dominant and greatest prime out of the 5 power forwards that we've talked about today. Before we wrap things up with the video, I just wanted to remind you to please leave a like on the video. If you've made it this far, it probably means you're enjoying it, and leaving a like only takes about a second and helps out my channel an incredible amount. If you want to support the channel one step further, subscribing would be great, as you would get notified whenever I post, which is daily. Comment letting me know if you agree with me saying Giannis is the second greatest power forward of all time, and if you disagree, please let me know why. Thank you as always for all the support, you guys are amazing. Giannis Antetokounmpo is one of the most unique players in NBA history. He's remained loyal to the Milwaukee Bucks and has developed leaps and bounds with the organization. His story inspires many, including myself, and he's one of the most loved players in the league. In all honesty, Giannis is probably one of the most exciting players to watch, at least for me, and I believe this video is warranted for how great the Greek Freak is. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you made it this far. Doing both things help on my channel an extreme amount. Leave a comment letting me know what you think of the video and if you have any other ideas you'd like to see me create. And as always, until next time, cheers.